And diplomat urges international community to pressure TPLF to return to peace talk. Hello and thank you for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed received today Sheikh Faisal bin Thani Al Thani, Chief of Asia Pacific and Africa Investments at Qatar Investment Authority, according to Office of the Prime Minister. The two sides discussed on ways of exploring and expanding investments in Ethiopia, was indicated. Quote-unquote, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed received in his office this morning Sheikh Faisal bin Thani Al Thani, Chief of Asia Pacific and Africa Investments at Qatar Investment Authority. The discussions revolved around exploring and expanding investments in Ethiopia, the office stated. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has been awarded the 2022 Global Islamic Finance Award for efforts he made in reforming Ethiopia's finance sector. Receiving the award, the Premier lauded that Ethiopia is committed to open its banking sector for foreign investment. Goshu Melliso has the detail.
Global Islamic Finance Award GIFA has grown over the years to become one of the highly desired and most respectable market-led awards in Islamic banking and finance in the world. It is a precious label of excellence that recognizes governments, institutions and individuals who have made outstanding achievements and contributing to the sustainability of Islamic banking and finance. 11 African leaders, including Djiboutian President Ismail Omar Guelleh and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, received the award so far. The 2022 Global Islamic Finance has chosen Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed as the 12th African awardee. The Prime Minister has received the award from Ismail Omar Guelleh. The Premier awarded for the efforts he made in financial reforms and inclusivity.
Over the past 4 years, Ethiopia has undergone sweeping political and economic shifts in the face of some daunting challenges. On the economic front, my administration is implementing a coherent and pro-growth reform agenda that recognizes the enhanced role of the private sector. A key part of our economic reform agenda has been our effort to strengthen the financial markets. We understood early on that a stable macro-financial system supports growth and job creation. Enabling savers to invest their financial assets with confidence and providing investors the predictability and finance they need to invest in job-creating projects have been two critical ingredients in growing the financial sector.
On the occasion, the Premier lauded that Ethiopia is committed to open its banking sector for foreign investment.
We are committed to open our banking sector for foreign investment. This, we hope, will ensure the suitability of our growth by ensuring increased credit and foreign currency availability to our productive economic sector. We are determined to bring our country firmly into the international marketplace for ideas, capital, technology, and talent. I stand here committed to do my utmost to make Ethiopia a beacon of hope for its citizens, a source of stability and opportunity for its neighbors.
Djiboutian President Ismail Omar Guelleh, for his part, said Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is awarded for his ambitious reform, adding he is optimistic that it will be replicated into the region.
As you all know, GIFA reserves its highest award for heads of states and government, but also rewards the most deserving Islamic financial institutions in order to underline their outstanding corporate contributions to the development of Islamic finance. It is thus with real pleasure that I welcome the Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia, Dr. Abiy Ahmed Ali, to this GIFA ceremony as a chief guest. I have to say, it is a particular source of satisfaction to me tonight to be able to present the prestigious 2022 Edition Award to you, dear brother. This highlights, if need be, your leadership and constant support for the promotion and development of Islamic finance in Ethiopia.
It is to be recalled that the Council of Ministers approved a bill to open the banking sector for foreign operators.
Welcome back. The Director for Africa at the European External Action Service, Rita Larangina, said that the European Union supports the AU-led peace process in solving conflict in northern Ethiopia. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen met with Director for Africa at the European External Action Service, Rita Larangina, today. During the meeting, Demeke reaffirmed Ethiopia's commitment to working on issues that strengthen the country's relationships with the European Union. He also briefed her on the current state of affairs in Ethiopia in relation to the northern conflict and the peace-building efforts that the Ethiopian government has undertaken so far. According to him, the Ethiopian government is committed to the AU-led peace process and expressed hope that the EU would support efforts to end the conflict peacefully. Larangina, on her part, reiterated EU's support to the AU-led peace process and emphasized EU's willingness to assist the peace process whenever required. The crowning achievement of Britain's Queen Elizabeth, who died after 70 years on the throne, was to maintain the popularity of the monarchy across decades of seismic political, social and cultural change that threatened to make it an anachronism. Queen Elizabeth, Britain's longest reigning monarch, the nation's figurehead, and a towering presence on the world stage for 7 decades, died peacefully at her home in Scotland last Thursday, aged 96. Accordingly, various Ethiopians from all walks of life, including heavyweights in the government, have signed on the condolence book for Her Royal Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, that is open to the public at the British Embassy in Addis Ababa. Deputy Head of Mission with the Embassy, Andrew Ockenden, threw a word of appreciation for all Ethiopians, the government, and the African Union for showing solidarity with the British people and government. Listen to him.
Good morning. I'm Andrew Ockenden, I'm the Chargé d'Affaires at the British Embassy in Addis Ababa. I just wanted to take a moment to say a huge thank you to the Ethiopian people, your government, and the African Union for all of the kind messages of support and the condolences that we have received. Queen Elizabeth was our monarch for 70 years and gave 70 years of tireless service. Hence, you'll understand this is a moment of sadness for us. At the same time, I and the staff here have been massively heartened by the kind messages and reflections that people have passed to us, including personal memories of meeting the Queen, including during her visit to Ethiopia. We will remain in mourning until Monday, the date of the funeral, but after that, reopening for business on Tuesday. But just reiterate a huge thank you to all of you. We will be passing your condolence messages back to London and back to King Charles III as soon as we are able. Thank you.
If the account from some official sources is anything to go by, the body of Queen Elizabeth II will be laid to rest at the Westminster Abbey. The funeral is expected to be one of the biggest gatherings of royalty and politicians hosted in the UK for decades. The terrorist TPLF has continued attacking villages, killing innocent civilians, gang raping, looting, and destroying property. This wave of aggression and pillaging has further exacerbated humanitarian crisis in Amhara and Afar states. 6 innocent civilians have been killed in a heavy artillery attack by the terrorist TPLF in Adarke town of Amhara state. According to the residents of this small town, many houses have been burned to ashes by the TPLF. Kazahun Chani tells you more.
The atrocities committed by the TPLF on innocent citizens and the destruction caused to public facilities in Amhara and Afar states went on, providing the TPLF's appeal to peace is phony. The terrorist TPLF has been committing this barbaric atrocity in various parts of the Amhara state, according to the residents of Adarke town. This small town has only been freed 2 weeks ago by the joint operation of the Ethiopian Defense Forces, the Amhara Special Forces, local militias and the FANO.
It was exactly 8 o'clock when the heavy weaponry exploded here. I was inside this house. The entire house went up in dust. Shell-shocked and crying, we went out only to discover that the shelling killed 3 and wounded 6.
Other residents who lost members of their families underscored that the terrorist group had committed horrifying atrocities and crimes against the innocent residents of Adarke during its occupation.
The evil acts of the TPLF were horrendous. The explosions of the heavy weaponry left our village in tatters. I lost my son, and you can imagine how barbaric this is. It's a loss from which you can't recover.
The group also inflicted numerous atrocities against innocent civilians, looted properties and destroyed health facilities, schools, shops and houses, among other service-providing institutions that it was unable to transport.
Seleshi Bekele, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ethiopia to the USA, discussed with Congressman Harold Dallas Rogers, RKY, on current state of affairs in Ethiopia, AGOA, HR 6600, and TPLF's atrocities. Ambassador Seleshi said he advised the member of the Legislative Council on the unfair HR 6600 Ethiopia Stabilization, Peace and Democracy Act proposal. He explained that he briefed the congressman regarding the African Development and Opportunity Act, AGOA, and terrorist TPLF instigated war and the terrorist group's atrocities in Ethiopia. The ambassador said in a tweet that he called on the U.S. government to stand with the legitimate Ethiopian government. The 84-year-old Harold Dallas Rogers is a representative from Kentucky, a longtime politician and lawyer who has served in the U.S. Congress for 41 years. In a related news, the ambassador briefed Inger Anderson, the Undersecretary General of the United Nations and Executive Director of United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, on the tripartite negotiation of GERD and other various issues. Ambassador Seleshi discussed with the Executive Director on Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD, the current stage of negotiations, sustainable development and cooperation, and the future of the Abai River. Ethiopia's ambassador to the UK, Teferi Mellese, urged the international community to put more pressure on the TPLF to return to the negotiation table. In an article to Al Jazeera, Mellese called on the international community to break its silence on the TPLF's aggression. Shagao Yamatao takes it from here.
Ethiopia's ambassador to the UK, Teferi Mellese, urged the international community to apply pressure on the terrorist TPLF to agree to lay down its arms. The ambassador made the remark in an article posted on Al Jazeera's website. Mellese noted that the international community has a decisive role to play. Mellese noted that the Ethiopian government is ready to resolve the conflict with the TPLF through peace talk at any time and anywhere, adding that, rejecting the peaceful alternatives, the TPLF waged third-round war with neighboring Afar and Amhara regions. Mellese outlined that the third-round war aggression is a typical demonstration of the TPLF stance against peace talk. According to the ambassador, another prolonged war is in nobody's interest and the terrorist group must stop plunging Ethiopians in any more plight. The ambassador appreciated the government's effort for peace talk and acknowledged the government's truce since March this year. Hence, the humanitarian ceasefire has allowed unprecedented aid to reach Tigray with more than 4,000 trucks delivering food, medicines, and other vital supplies. The World Food Programme confirmed in late July that the immediate risk of famine had been averted, the ambassador noted. In its aggression, TPLF was concentrated in the neighboring regions. The TPLF invaded and occupied towns and villages in Afar and Amhara, bringing untold misery to the Ethiopians living there, Mellese stated, adding that Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have documented the TPLF's use of rape as a weapon of war, killings of innocent civilians, looting of aid, and the destruction of public infrastructure. The ambassador went on explaining that the Ethiopian government is ready, as always, to resolve issues peacefully despite the TPLF's frequent refusal to peace option. The ambassador finally indicated that if the belligerent group goes on invading adjacent regions and inflicting harm on civilians, the Ethiopian government will defend the sovereignty of the country and freedom of the people.
Ethiopia's ambassador to China, Tashome Toga, has briefed USA, European Union, and the United Kingdom diplomats based in China on the current situation in Ethiopia. In his briefing to the diplomats, the ambassador discussed the current situation in northern Ethiopia and the government's peace process. Ambassador Tashome also called on the international community to support African Union-led peace efforts and put pressure on TPLF to stop the war. He further urged the international community to stop treating the aggressor TPLF and the victim equally. In business news, Ethiopia aims to grow its textile export earnings from 181 million USD to 250 million US dollars this Ethiopian fiscal year Industry Minister Melakwa Lebel said. In his opening remarks to the International Conference on Sustainable Textile Investment and Operation Ethiopia, the minister said more than 80,000 new jobs have been created in industrial parks in the concluded Ethiopian budget year. Johannes Fentahun has the details.
A two-day conference which is organized by the Triangular Cooperation Project of Minister of Commerce of China, Minister of Economic Cooperation and Development of Germany, and Minister of Industry opened today. The Industry Minister of Ethiopia, Melakwa Lebel, stated in his speech that the textile and apparel industry has grown by 51% on average, and over 65 international textile investment projects were licensed in 2020.
Ethiopia manufacturing sector earned 500 million USD in the last Ethiopian fiscal year, and textile sector has contributed 181.4 million USD, which is 46.5% of the manufacturing sector earning. In the next fiscal year, we aim to grow this contribution of the manufacturing industry export earning to 538 million USD, with the textile contribution being 250 million USD.
According to Melakwa, import substitution has been identified as a priority last Ethiopian fiscal year, and successful achievement was registered in producing military uniform locally as part of the Let Ethiopia Produce project. Chinese ambassador to Ethiopia Zhao Ziyuan said on his part that Ethiopia has in recent years witnessed economic growth, including in textile industry. With a population of over 100 million people, Ethiopia enjoys prominent demographic advantage as typical labor-intensive industry, the ambassador added.
So far, China is one of the biggest investors for the textile sector in Ethiopia, with a total of about $450 million. We have over 30 Chinese textile companies in Ethiopia, and in the first 7 months of this year alone, they have invested more than $5.8 million, accounting for almost 45% of Ethiopia's total FDI in textile sector.
Germany's deputy head of mission to Ethiopia on his part said his country's support to the African Sourcing Fashion Week in Addis Ababa promoted Ethiopia as a sustainable textile hub in Africa.
The Triangular Project has assessed current environmental, social and governance practices in the sector. Based on the study, staff of 15 local and 15 Chinese companies was extensively trained on water, energy and chemical management, pollution prevention, human rights and labor law, grievance handling, prevention of discrimination, and collective bargaining practices.
Ethiopia has earned $10 billion from the export of goods and services in the last budget year.
And finally, the World Meteorological Organization unveiled an alarming multi-agency report on climate. The UN chief pointed fingers at the use of fossil fuels and called developed countries to deliver on their investment and political pledges to help developing countries finance climate adaptation. Africa is looking to push for better and standardized practices on carbon during the upcoming United Nations Conference in Parties known as COP27. Take a look.
Climate-related disasters are on the rise. Multi-agency report coordinated by the World Meteorological Organization was published Tuesday. It called for urgent action to mitigate carbon emissions ahead of the UN World Climate Conference scheduled to take place in Egypt in November.
Heat waves in Europe, colossal floods in Pakistan, prolonged and severe droughts in China, the Horn of Africa and the United States. There is nothing natural about the new scale of these disasters. They are the price of humanity's fossil fuel addiction. The number of weather, climate and water-related disasters has increased by a factor of 5 over the past 50 years.
The 2022 report was drawn from data compiled by a number of UN agencies and partners. With increasing levels of atmospheric greenhouse gas concentration, the UN chief pointed the finger at fossil fuels.
This year's United in Science report shows climate impacts heading into uncharted territories of destruction. Yet, each year, we double down on this fossil fuel addiction even as the symptoms get rapidly worse, even as we know the cure. Our leaders pledged in the Paris Agreement to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees and build climate resilience. This year's United in Science report shows that we are way off track.
The study cited a 48% chance that the landmark 1.5 degrees Celsius rise in global temperatures will be hit in the next 5 years. Antonio Guterres called developed countries to deliver on their investment and political pledges.
It is a scandal that developed countries have failed to take adaptation seriously and shrugged off their commitments to help the developing world. The Glasgow decision urges developed countries to collectively provide $40 billion a year in new adaptation finance. And this must be delivered in full as a starting point.
The UN Secretary-General call echoes calls by African leaders. Every year, millions flee their homes because of natural disasters and conflicts.
A reminder of the stories making headlines. Terrorist TPLF gang rapes women, loots property and kills people using heavy artillery. And diplomat urges international community to pressure TPLF to return to peace talk. That's all we had for now. I'm Tabitha John. Many thanks for watching. Have a good night and do take care.